What's up to the FB family? Welcome to another episode of Football Prophets with two friends talk all things soccer. I'm your host, Michelle. I'm here with Coach David Johnson. How you doing today, my guy?
I'm doing well. We got an exciting show. We got the probably the most famous player to ever bring his talents to South Beach. It's gonna be an interesting one to talk about today.
I like to say I was wrong. And
it's a nice thing to hear. Feels good for me.
I was wrong. So let's get it rolling here. Montreal breaks into a playoff picture with style. They got a 4-0 win.
They did. They absolutely crushed this Minnesota side. This is a Minnesota side that's known to be one of the top defenses in the league, but not today. 4-0, that's dominance, right? Like there's no way around that.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing here is that just puts Montreal to the playoff picture.
Yeah. Where make it?
Whereas last year they were second. They were second in the East last season. Up until the very last couple of weeks of the season, they were Shield contenders, pushing LAFC and Philadelphia every inch of the way. And now they are struggling to be in a playoff picture. Yeah. Only thing to me that really changed, I mean, obviously they got rid of quite a few players, but the biggest thing here is the loss of Wilfred, their former head coach, who is now in Columbus, who are sat above them in the playoffs. So Columbus didn't make the playoffs last year, which speaks to
Columbus is doing great.
Yeah, what speaks to Dante's level as a coach, and we'll talk about that later when we talk about our early coach of the season canvas. But this was good soccer for Montreal. It looked good. Everything about it was attractive. Mason Toy got, I think, a brace in this game, a former U.S. national team player. It's good to see him back into the picture, scoring goals, and hopefully he kicks off and ends up having a push at some sort of something resembling a good season, right? Like he hasn't really had a good season, goal scoring wise, in a long time. So it would be nice to see him just make a push at not necessarily a golden boot season, just a good competitive season for a striker.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely understand. I'm 100% on board with that. Minnesota's going to be fine.
They'll be all right. They're still talking about signing a DP number 9, and all sources are saying that it is imminent. It will happen in the summer window. Once they get that high-level DP 9, along with Reynoso coming back into full fitness after taking, let's just say, a little vacation at the beginning of the year, they're going to be one of the top teams in the West, and they'll definitely be in a comfortable playoff position come the end of the season.
For sure.
What's their ring right now?
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm going to move us on here just a little bit because, I mean, I'm definitely on board with you. And also, I think sign somebody, but if they don't get who they want, don't try to scramble. I think you said it and grab someone just to grab someone.
Yeah.
So, awesome. So let's go to Charlotte. You know what I was happy about was that this week I had devastating news. My team didn't win. And then your team didn't win. So I was like, both teams didn't win. I know yours is a tie, but still not a win.
I mean, a tie on the road against an Eastern Conference team
against Charlotte. You get
a playoff level team, and it's the hardest.
You don't respect Charlotte that much. You don't respect Charlotte that much.
I'm one of the biggest Ben Bender fans there is.
Are you serious? Ben, I very good you talk about that. I every time I've known you.
Now, Charlotte is a solid team. They made the playoffs last year. They're just, I think, outside the playoff picture now, but I think on points per game, they're just inside the playoff picture. The thing here for the Sounders is that they took the lead 3 different times. They gave up the lead 3 different times, but they took the lead 3 different times. And this is an injury-ridden Seattle team. They got 2 of their players back in Raul Ruiz and Christian Roldan. Raul Ruiz got 2, Christian Roldan got 1. So your two more attacking players and important attacking players that come back into the picture in their first game back on road get a total of 3 goals.
Yeah.
That's good. You're still missing Jordan Morris, who made a late appearance in this game. You're still missing Nico Lodeiro, who, Jordan Morris is back. He should be back to go
about him for like my All-Star, but yeah.
He should be back to full health sooner than later and getting full minutes. Nico Lodeiro was completely out this game. I don't know when he'll come back, and that's their TP10. And like we've seen with Minnesota and so many other teams in the league in SKC, when you're missing a DP10, it's tough, right? Like, that is the most important position, with the only exception of potentially
Sandy, yeah. Definitely when you're missing your player, you'll be able to feel it for sure.
Right, with the exception of a 6. A 10 is probably the most important.
Well, you forget everything. It's kind of like, I want kind of like point guard basketball.
Yeah, it's absolutely crucial in this league, especially this league. This league uses 10s more than any other league in the world, with the exception of maybe Argentina.
Yeah.
But
they created their all-night.
But it's good to see that with players missing and players coming back into health, you're still getting 3 goals on the road against a decent competitive team. I think once the Sounders get to full health and can stay full health for an extended amount of time, they're already still on points per game 3rd in the West, right?
It's not fair though. Seattle is like a nucleus of player. Like, you go to their bench player or starter player in other teams. Like, a lot of their players that come off the bench can start, like Charlotte.
But how many of those players are young kids that came through the academy? You know what I mean? Like, Dylan Tevez, Josh Atencio, Obed Vargas, even though he started this.
Atencio.
Right? Like,
you got a bright future, that kid.
He does. I mean, all of the young kids do, but like, so many of our bench are teenage kids
who can hold their own,
but came through the academy.
Yeah.
So it's not just we went out and we spent more money than every other league.
Yeah,
we're developing players in a very good way.
You the one thing about Seattle is like, you have that development, but even when they're in the team, because some team, they'll pull play from the academy and they expect you to like be the savior kind of. They still have like good, formidable veterans that they can sit behind. Like, what's his name? Atencio is going to have a way better career than JP, because you get to watch him learn from his mistakes. Like, you get to just be there. Like, because I feel like he's going to kind of be like the faces replacing him in the midfield. Like, he's going to be the one to look at. So I love the fact that they got those veterans and those players. It almost not fair.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
Almost not fair. Awesome. So I'm going to move us to LAFC. Looks like there's a curse in LA, man.
Yeah, LAFC hit a little bit of a slump recently. I mean, you can probably chalk it up to a little bit of a CCL hangover. We talked about it with Philadelphia, who are now back on winning ways. But in all competitions, that is U.S. Open Cup, 2 games of the CCL final, and then 2 MLS regular season games, they haven't won. They've actually lost 4 and drawn 1. This is a LAFC team that you expect dominance from, that we've seen dominance from throughout this year up until these last 5 games, and it's all kind of crashing apart. And the question is here, will they hit the turnaround like Philadelphia hit, right? Will they hit a slump like the Sounders hit last season and not make the playoffs? Obviously, this LAFC team will make the playoffs, but how far down are they going to drop? Is this just a couple bad weeks, or is this a month and a half long issue for them that they have to fight themselves out of? I don't know about you, but personally, I think this LAFC team has the quality to get themselves out, the experience to get themselves out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think in the last 2 years they've had this bad of 5-game streak. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And what, like, Steve Churrundalo has never had to manage this team in a dark place. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
I don't see them being stuck there forever. They do have the talent and the quality to get out of this, and they are a good organization. I trust them. It just kind of mid-season-ish, slumpish, happens to everybody. So they're going to be just fine. They are going to be fine. So let's move on. Let's stop talking about them. I'm already mad that my team lost. Oh yeah, we're talking about that too. That's anything you want to say about LA Galaxy getting kicked out?
I mean, not really.
Okay, let's move on. All right, early coach of this season. Let's go with that. Let's go with early coach this season. Who we got for us there?
I think you're gonna have to repeat that. I don't think I might pick that up.
Okay, early coach of the season. The mic thing at all. Early coach of the season. Looks like you have some names here for us. I kind of want you to go a little bit, and then Steady's going to chime in too, but go into a little bit here why the names.
Yeah, so I think there's a 5-coach race right now. Obviously, you have MLS first-time coach in Bradley Cornell with St. Louis.
Yeah,
when an expansion team's doing the things that St. Louis is doing, and they were doing it without their DP9. You can't ignore the impact that the coach has to have in this scenario. It's not just great players with MLS experience because their players don't have MLS experience, so it's not a great player, right? So he is clearly a candidate for that. Next up would be Steve Churrundalo with this LAFC team.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, any team that makes it to a CCL final is right up there in the supporter shield race. Their coach is going to be a candidate for coach of the season. But those are, well, then Pat Mueller, obviously, what he's doing with Cincinnati, the best team MLS has ever seen at this point in the season, with the exception of the shootout era. Those 3 coaches are going to be seen as probably the 3 best in voters' eyes, just because they're 3 of the best winning coaches.
Yeah. With what have you done to me? About what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. But the thing I want to point out here is 2 coaches that aren't necessarily in that top tier as far as the standings are concerned. Luchi Gonzalez with San Jose. Last year, San Jose were one of the worst teams in the league, and now they're in a comfortable playoff spot. One of the most exciting teams to watch. They're dynamic all over the field. They have, for me, a potential MVP candidate. Really, 2 MVP candidates in Grayzo and Espinoza.
Yeah.
And they're just cooking, right? And that's just testament to Luchi Gonzalez. He comes in, instant turnaround of this team, right? So he has to be a candidate there. And then Wilfred, we saw him last season with Montreal take them to second place, and now Montreal is just in the playoff picture now without him. And now he moves over to Columbus, who are out of the playoff picture last year, and now they're in. And it's not just that they're in, but they're playing a style of soccer that's attractive, that's fun to watch. So you want to tune in and watch this.
All there is and are excited this year.
Yeah, so I just think when you're looking at that turnaround, it's not necessarily the place in the standings, but the style of play they're playing. Because we're only halfway through the season, right?
Yeah.
They have a chance still to win a trophy. They can make a bigger push into a home playoff spot.
Yeah.
Like, once it starts clicking and the style of play starts to become more consistent with them, because they played it for not just the first few weeks of the season, but they played it for months and months and months. Yeah. They're going to be a scary team.
Yeah.
Cucho Fernandez is back in scoring form. And another thing with Wilfred, when Cucho wasn't scoring, he just said, all right, and put in Christian Ramirez, who started to perform, right?
Yeah.
When you can just take out one of your highest paid attacking players and put in some guy and still get production.
You got to have the swag to do it as a coach, though.
Yeah.
Not every coach.
Confidence, too. Yeah, that's belief, right? Like, you only see a few coaches in MLS do that, where they are willing to bench their star number 9s.
Yeah.
Recently, one of those coaches got fired. So, who knows how that turns out for you. But Wilfred Dante, he is an absolutely incredible coach. Interesting coaching journey. So, he was going to be when he was in Montreal, he was going to be under as an assistant coach to Thierry Henry. And then Thierry Henry left, and they just said, here our coach. Yeah. And it led them to arguably their best season ever.
Thierry played for Chicago Fire, correct?
No, Thierry played for New York Red Bulls.
No, who played for Chicago Fire?
Xherdan Shaqiri currently plays there.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Let's. So on a count of 1, 2, 3. On a count of 3, I just want us both to say who's going to be coach of the year.
Personal, or who we think should be, or who we think actually will be voted. That, for me, that's two different people.
Who you think is going to win it and who you think should get it. All right, so I'm going to count to 3. We're going to first say who we think will get it, and we're going to say who we think should get it.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Pat. All right. Awesome. Good. And then we're going to go through who should get it, right? 1, 2, 3.
Luchi Gonzalez.
I was going to say Nancy.
So pretty much what we're saying is here, we both appreciate coaches that can turn a team around.
Oh, yeah.
And but we both think that the league is going to go and vote for a coach that is top.
Stories.
To be fair,
If they keep going.
Pat Noonan is a coach to turn the team around, because first 3 years in MLS, Cincinnati were the worst team.
Yeah.
All 3 years. His 2 years that he's come in, first year he puts them into a playoff picture team, a winning playoff team. Second year, he puts them in to be the best team in MLS history at this point of the season. So he is a coach that can turn teams around. He probably does.
Yeah, those 3 coaches are kind of cut from the same club, so I wouldn't be mad if any of them and you don't get it. So we're good on that. All right, coach. So you hit me up with this last night, which was I was driving, and you were like, "Come up with a MLS All-Star 11." I was like, "All right, let me Jesus take the wheel, and I'll do this real quick." But I didn't do a very great job at it. I have some names I'm going to throw in, but we also going to throw this in our Twitter, so pay attention to it if you see some of the name change right here.
Trying to sound like where I put it out in our
Coach had more time to think about this than me, so I'm just going to throw in some name. Maybe I'm going to throw some shade at the list because I don't have my full list just yet. But yeah, MLS All-Star coming up. I don't know who you got. I didn't know all the rules, right? So I saw coaches pick, you can get voted in. So there's a lot of ways you can get in.
Yeah, so there's ways you can get in. There's a commissioner's pick. So essentially, the head coach of the host city. So the host city for this is DC. So Wayne Rooney is the head coach for the All-Star game.
And that's
right. So now Wayne Rooney's allowed to pick 1 or 2 players to join his team.
His team or from anywhere?
Anywhere. Oh, it's usually going to be your team.
I saw some coaches pick, but it came from their team.
Yeah, it's almost always going to be your team. Because that would be just a really hard thing in a locker room to walk into those boys and be like, yeah, I had a free pick, and I picked someone not you.
I picked Messi.
So
does he qualify with this?
Messi could qualify, but it would probably have to be a commissioner's pick.
Okay.
We've seen this before. Trying to remember the player that came into the league. I'm thinking maybe it was Lampard, but there was a player in the league that was a midfielder.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I forgot he can't.
But off the top of my head, I can't remember. But the commissioner did pick him for the commissioner did pick him for a spot in the All-Star game when he hadn't played a single game. So Stan is going crazy. But yeah, I'm sad. But so we have seen it before. I probably will happen. It just depends on when the All-Star game is versus when Messi actually agrees to come. And to be honest, but
awesome. So we're talking about Messi potentially getting picked, but let's move on and dive right into the list here. So you have your starting 11.
Yeah, because I actually did my due diligence and I voted.
You voted?
Yes.
All right.
So Lachey clearly doesn't care because he doesn't vote. It's your duty as an MLS citizen to vote. So I don't want to hear any complaints on your end when your player doesn't make it in. So it's on you. It's on you.
You made me aware of this last night. I will be honest.
You host an MLS-focused podcast. It shouldn't be on me to make you aware.
No, you made not on that. I know that was coming. I aware of us coming with a list of our own players. I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm enjoying this. All right, who you got?
All right, so in goal, I have Takaoka, the Whitecaps goalkeeper. I just think he's been phenomenal. And just outside of that, he might not be the best goalkeeper in the league, but I do think he's the most exciting. Some of the saves he's made are just absolutely incredible. So I'd love to see him there. And my two center backs, it has to be Gomez Andrade from Seattle, and then Yerson Mosquera from FC Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Outright, it's got to be Alex Rodon, Christian's younger brother, from the Seattle Sounders at right back. On the left back, it's going to be Tolkien from New York Red Bulls. That back four just cooks. Like, the outside players there are both attacking players that can get in on overlaps and get crosses into the balls. But they're also really good defensive players too. And then the two center backs are two of the best physical center backs in the league for that defensive team.
Election something they will get.
Like, they're just two statues of massive people.
Yeah.
But then in front of them, I have sitting Nwobodo from FC Cincinnati. I think he's the best six in the league. There's a couple other sixes that are right up there with him, but what he can do, I see him kind of as a Conte type, that really destroyer of a six, but his actual creating play is underrated. Because when you think Conte from Chelsea, you just think of a destroyer, a ground cover, someone to break up play, right? But his ability to pass the ball is incredible. And Nwobodo is that exact same type of player. We just don't see or think of it from him because all we think of is his incredible ground covering ability and his ability to disrupt the play in front of his center backs. But he's incredible. And you need a player like that because I am going very, very heavy on the attack for my two other central mids in Hani Mukhtar and Acosta.
Agreed. That's what I wanted both of them right there.
They have to be there, right? And if you have both of them on the field, you're going to have a really good six.
Yeah.
And then playing out left, I put Denny Bouanga. That's probably the easiest pick of the entire All-Star game.
Yeah, I was kind of biased a little bit because I was thinking about my guy in Dallas. But that is a bias.
Yeah, I mean, he would probably be more for one to start up top.
Yeah.
But he could go out wide. He's just for your target. Up top at the 9 role, I have Gigi Giacomakis.
Nice.
I think part of what I'm doing, I have a hard time building an all-star team without thinking of how it could play together.
Yeah.
Right. Which I know isn't how this really works, but I think him and Denny Bouanga, and then my third pick, right, is Chris Espinoza. Those three up top together, but like that would just be incredible to watch. And then I listed down with my captain, Acosta. I just don't think there's a better person out there to be a captain for an All-Star game than Acosta, especially considering he will be playing under Rooney, who was his teammate at FC.
I just now with the defender from Cincinnati, my saying his name wrong, but I went with him. I just like when center backs are captain. And I think like he has that demeanor. So that's what I went with. I don't have a starting 11. I have a few players that because it is not easy to come up with starting 11. So I have my bench, kind of who I want to play. And then I have a few players that I want, and I think I have about a total 4 players so far that I definitely want to see in, and I think should make it. So Tess is one of them. Definitely want to see him play. Definitely think it's going to be a great all-star for him. You got to give Hollywood Tower the start like that. You can't. That dude is like the king. Like just seeing him back, although his team is not. For some reason, I expected them to just wipe the ball with everybody because they're kind of like legendary good. But definitely got to give him his starting right there. Obviously, Mascara. The goalkeeper, what's his name again?
Which one?
Yeah, the one you just had from
Takaoka.
Yeah, I always mess up his name. But this is where I was a little bit conflicted. A little bit. Thinking of All-Star, and it's more who I want to see than who's good. I don't know if you think about it that way. I want to see Sean Johnson, man. I feel like it's his last release. I feel like it's his last glory days.
I would have put every bit of money I have on you saying Roman Berkey.
I love Berkey. I haven't seen him yet, and they're killing it with San Luis. But I just. I feel like Sean Johnson is like, you know, when you like before Kobe in the All-Star, when he's like about to finish his career, you know damn sure he doesn't deserve it, but you're for him, man. Sean Johnson is just such a legend, and whatever's been happening with him in it's Montreal, Toronto, sorry, Canada, but in Toronto,
It's all the same up there.
bro, I hate to see him go away this way. This man is a legend. I know it's not going to happen, but is the vote still open?
It's gonna end really soon if it hasn't just.
Okay, I'm gonna go home. So what I'm gonna go is I'm gonna come up with myself that man. I'm gonna put in my vote. I'm gonna vote for you, Sean Johnson. That's one of the people that I was like, hey, I know it's all about who's good, but sometimes also it's about what you want to see. And I want to see. Do you think he retires in like 1-2 years? Sean Johnson, the way his career, because he's not. Is it just me, or you watch this highlight and you watch how legendary it's like it's another guy in the goal?
I think probably in the next 2 to 3 seasons, he's gonna be absolutely.
Yeah. So those are the few players I had. Obviously, my guy Vera from Dallas. Want to see him start. I'll put in. If I'm you, Espinosa can play midfield, right?
He can, but now you're going to have a midfield of Mukhtar, Acosta, and Espinosa. That would be
the all
attack.
I'm going to St. Louis. And I am going to stuff Pierre.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just going to be no fundamental soccer with a lot of sentiments, with a lot of heart.
Okay.
Yeah. What I need now is another center mid and then two outside players.
I'm just surprised you didn't choose Christian Benteke. He has to fit in your player I want to watch category, right?
He's a player I like. I can see him at the bench, but not like as a starter.
Okay.
Yeah, I think talent-wise, just pure talent-wise, maybe not the level right now today. I like my guy in Dallas.
I think I would start Benteke over Ferreira, and I'm a bigger fan of Ferreira than I am of Benteke.
For real?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let that to each their own. That is it. I'm going to stop by here. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.